So the first thing we're going to do is remove the wingtips. We're looking at the articulation, okay? If we're looking at it for equality points, what we're looking for quality points in a bird?
Not slimy.
Not slimy, so dry to the touch, absolutely, yes.
No bruising.
No bruising, so there shouldn't be any damage or skin breakages or bruising. And what we don't want is any sort of yellowing around the ankles, because that means that that bird spent a long time walking around in its own feces and things, okay? So, yeah, what about the colour of the skin, what we're looking for?
Slightly blue.
Slightly bluish tinge to it. Yeah, yellow if it's corn fed, but slightly bluish tinge, yeah, good. Okay, and the breast meat should be nice and firm to the touch, should bounce back, okay? And you want a decent amount of meat to bone ratio. If it looks really scrawny and skinny and it's all bone, you're not going to get a lot of yield off it, so you want a decent amount of meat from there. So this is a sort of 1.25 to 1.5 kilogram chicken, which is ideal for cutting for saute. You should get 4 even portions out of this, okay? Each portion has to consist of a piece of white meat on the bone and a piece of dark meat on the bone, okay? When we cut this chicken, you won't really see a difference in the colour of the meat, okay? Obviously, with free-range chicken that spent a lot more time exercising and working, the legs will be a darker colour and the fibres will be a bit tougher. You'll notice it more in other birds, like game birds, like pheasants and partridge, and things like that, okay? Right, so the first thing to do is wishbone removal, okay? So pulling the scrawn of the skin back, we're just exposing the top part, which is basically the collarbone of the chicken, okay? Just use the point of the knife, okay? There'll be a natural line of fat, you can probably see that. Natural line of fat just on the inside, okay? Use your thumb or your forefinger and just rub along where the bone is, so you can establish where the bone is before you go with the knife, okay? And then all you're going to do with a thin bladed knife, you can use a little paring knife for this, or I've got in this case a flexible boning knife, okay? And I'm just going to use the point of that to go inside and outside of the bone, cleaning the meat off the bone as I go, to expose the bone so that I can easily pull the bone out without taking too much or damaging the actual breast meat too much. The only purpose of doing this really is if you are roasting a large chicken or a large, maybe a turkey or a goose, you want to remove the wishbone before you roasted it so that when you come to carve it, that wishbone isn't in the way, because if you're carving slices off the breast, that wishbone stops you from getting actually to the middle of the breast meat, okay? So once you've exposed the bone, the best thing to use is your forefinger and thumb. It's just to rub the bone, clean the bone up, okay? And that way, you're not going to damage the actual chicken flesh too much, okay? So we're just rubbing the meat away from the bone, and both use your forefinger and thumb, okay? At the top of the breastplate, it goes flat, okay? So the flat piece, if I get my forefinger and thumb there and pinch that really hard, okay, and twist it, just need to make sure that all the meat is away from the bone structure. You can take your time with this, and the cleaner you get your wishbone out, the more impressed I'll be, okay? Challenge for you, okay? So once you've got hold of that breastplate, you want to give it a twist from side to side, and it should, it says, come away in one whole piece. Okay, minimal damage to the breast meat. I've left a little bit of meat on there, that's on the top there. Okay, and then just pull that away and it'll come away in one piece. So just trying to get the breastbone, and then you'll notice that the skin's not damaged in any way, shape or form. Okay, the skin on there is like natural tin foil or cling film. When it cooks, it's going to keep the moisture into place. Okay. On the elbow. Okay, I'm just going to score down. I'm not trying to cut through the bone. I'm just going to score down where the articulation is. Okay, so where that movement is, and that will expose the knuckle and socket joint. Okay, once I pop that open, I can see where the knuckle is. I can see where the socket is. I just aim my knife in between that, and then I'm not cutting through any bone. There shouldn't be any slivers left on there. Okay, do the same on the other side. Just score through, pull it apart, and then pop it out. Start with, okay, and then you could use those to firecracker chicken wings or chicken lollipops or anything else, okay. The next part I'm going to do is I'm going to change my knife, okay, in a minute when it comes to the breast, but for the legs I'm just going to take, so you've got the flap of skin that connects the breast to the leg meat, okay, separate muscles. So if we just score through that skin without going into the meat, there's no damage to the actual muscle tissue underneath. I'm just exposing what is the breast muscle. There's a bit of connective part of meat there, or muscle, and then down to the thigh. Okay, so if I open that sort of 90 degrees out to the chicken, okay, just cut through there. So lay the chicken outside, pop it round. What I'm looking for is this little fat round bit at the back of the chicken. It's called the chicken oyster. I'm going to insert my knife and I'm going to follow the natural shape of that round, just like a little nodule, okay? Just going to follow the shape of that round, making sure that I don't cut into the bone, okay? And that will just capture that nice little tender bit of chicken thigh. Also make sure that you don't end up leaving half the chicken thigh attached to the actual chicken. Follow that down to the joints, pop the joints, okay? Again exposing the knuckle. Follow the shape of that down. You've got, again, nature's very kind, it gives us where the different muscles are. It's got natural lines of fat that connect to tissue. If you score through that, it's going to take you to the right place because the muscles are separate. Okay? To what is called the parson's nose, which is the little tail of the bird. Okay? Just keep nice and close to the parson's nose. Okay, scoring through there. And the joint, you shouldn't need to really cut through the joint because it will naturally come away. Okay? So then I've got a nice bit of thigh meat, no damage to that, okay, and no meat left on the actual chicken carcass. Okay? I'm going to turn that inside out, and then I'm looking for, that's your top of the thigh muscle, this is a lower leg muscle. I score through that line of fat, okay, and just open it up and have a little look in there. Okay, again I'm looking for that ball and socket joint. Again, just score through that. I tend to keep it skin side down because that way you're less likely to damage the actual skin. Okay, so you end up with a nice. Do the same on the other side. So just scoring through that skin again. Follow the natural shape of that oyster round to hit the joint. Okay, once you hit the joint, don't try and just use your thumb just to pop the joint. It makes it a lot easier, and you're less likely to cut up or try and cut through bone, okay? And then again follow that natural shape of the back of the chicken down to the parson's nose to release the meat away from the carcass. Turn it over, look for that natural line of fat, score through it, find the knuckle, score through. So again we've got another. We've got a couple of choices, so we've got the diamond cut and the H cut. So I've marked the black lines, they're the first cut you're going to make. So you can either go halfway down the breast, or you need to leave that wing bone attached, because every bit of meat needs to be left on the bone. That's the purpose of cutting the saute. So when I cut down, I want to cut down to the inside of that bone. If I cut straight down, I can end up leaving that on there, and a bit of meat can come away. Alright? So I've got a diamond cut or an H cut. So the H cut, so you've got your natural breastbone. If I go sort of 2/3 of the way out from that and cut down, what I'm going to end up with is a mini supreme. Okay, so it's a supreme chicken, breast of chicken, with the wing bone still attached to it. Okay, and I can do that on either side, and then I can take the front carcass off and then cut it in half, which is what gives you the H. Okay, or you can do the diamond cut. The diamond cut is where you follow the natural shape of the wishbone down. Okay, there and there. Okay, and you'll end up with a diamond left of your chicken flesh, and you're just going to cut that in half through the middle. So what we're going to do, H cut or diamond cut, I don't mind. H cut. Okay. So the main thing with the supremes is to leave enough meat on the middle part, so that every bit of the white meat on the bone is the same size. So what I'm going to do is just go to the top of it. So this is my line. Okay, I'm going to go straight down. Okay, aiming for that corner joint, okay, that shoulder, and then what you end up, like I say, is a mini supreme. We'll do the same on the other side. Take your time so you make sure they're both the same size. They should be the same size of weights. To cut it in the right place. You should have that wing bone attached. Okay, again, if you're struck and cut through the joint, you're in the wrong place. So if you just expose the joint, aim between the, so again you end up with two supremes at the same size. Okay. Then we've got left over, we've got this half a breast left on either side of the breastplate. Okay, the best thing to do now is to follow underneath the breastplate. Okay, trim the back of the chicken off the way. Okay, you've got tiny little rib bones you need to go through. Okay, not a very pleasant sound, mate. Okay, and then I'm going to bend it back on itself and just push it down. That just breaks the shoulders. Okay, and then this is the hardest part. If you haven't got a lot of strength, what you need to do is get your weight over the top of your knife. You'll use a large knife. Just push down and through the top part of the breast. Make sure you've got a nice knife. And cut through. Okay. And that can be used for roasting and then made into stock. Okay. So what we've got now is the top. If there's any sort of loose bits of bone that's going to end up in your final dish, get rid of those because they're just going to break off in the cooking process and end up with bits of bone floating around in your sauce. Now you need to look at this and work out where you're going to cut it. It needs to be even in weight. So at the top part that's going to be heavier than the bottom part because look at the thickness. Yeah, so we're going to need to allow that bit to be slightly longer than the top bit. So look over the top of it again. Hand on the back of the knife, push down, and again what you should get is nice even portions. So we've now got our 4 bits of So, French trimming, we're looking to tidy up the end of the bone, we're looking to expose part of the bone for garnish, okay? A bit like having a rack of lamb or a pork chop. So what we want to do, probably about 3 centimetres away from where the ankle is at its narrowest, okay? You're just going to score through all the way around using a nice sharp knife, okay? And I'm just going to bring that down. If you can bring the sinews out with it, okay, so pull the sinews, that helps release. You can use a pair of pliers to pull the sinews out afterwards, okay? Scrape meat off the bone. See those sinews? So if I can pull those out afterwards with a pair of pliers, we'll just tidy up that end. So we're going to clean the bone up down to where the knuckle or the ankle joint would be. So you've got the heel on your knife. It's a lovely sound, isn't it? Okay, so where the knife... Sorry, do you want me to kind of stop doing that? Yeah. Okay, so where the joint starts to flatten out, the bone's quite tender, so unlike any sort of joint where it flattens out, it starts to become a bit more like cartilage. So if I can get nice and close down to the joint, okay, and chop through, what I end up is a nice clean cut. If I try and do that same thing further up the leg, it's just going to splinter and break and you end up with bits and pieces. But the closer you get to where the articulation happens, the softer the... so I'll just use a pair of pliers and pull those out. Okay. Same thing with the Supreme. Okay, we're just going to go round the... Again, look for about 2 centimetres away from the end of the joint. Okay. First use my small knife for this, and then just score round the bone. Again, same principle. Scrape it down. Make sure there's no meat or cartilage or anything like that attached to the bone. And then where it broadens out again and goes a bit whiter in colour as well, I'm just going to run my knife through that just to make a nice and clean cut. Okay. Change up to a bigger knife at this point. Again, get to the top of it and just pop the joint off, and then you get a nice clean cut, no bits of bone, no slivers and no breakages. It goes through fairly easy. Alright, so that's French trimming. Job done.